Wake up everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No more backwards thinking, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There's so much hatred. No more backwards thinking, time for thinking ahead.
Truth Forum, a forum to discuss truth and the friendly surrounding like we do at home at the kitchen table. I'm your host, Dr. Smith. I will lead compelling, relatable, and honest conversation. My guests will range from community leaders, professional, and real people whose stories will touch and inspire you. Discussion will center around relationships, real stories of personal struggles, and amazing, triumphant, and compelling topics in the news. If you'd like to be a guest at the kitchen table, you may call us at 269-962-5553. You may contact my director, Kara Bolden, or the website at www.kingdombuildersworldwide.org. Before I introduce my guest today, I'd like to thank my producer, Carl English, Mike Campbell, Facebook Live, Mike Bolden, camera, Callie Williams, and Kara Bolden, my co-host, Doug Jones. I'm excited to introduce to you, all the way from the great state of Michigan, our superintendent, Miss Kimberly Carter, and her guest today. We will introduce them by Anita Harvey and Miss Youngblood. Let's give God a praise for them right now. All right, get that name right. All right. Okay, y'all, we are just excited. First of all, Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's to everyone. Happy New Year's. And this is the call we've been asking for. Many people have asked regarding having our superintendent and her staff here. And you notice I'm saying mines because I am a Bearcat. Battle Creek will win. We're going to fight until the score is right. Bearcats go, Bearcats go, Bearcats go. Okay, before we do anything, I would like for you all to just give me like a 30-second intro, and we'll go further. Just tell me you. We know your title, but kind of tell me about you and what you do in the school system, then we'll come back and do some other things.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for having us. We are so happy to be here today just to have a conversation and let you know about all of the great things happening in Battle Creek. I am Superintendent Kim Carter. I've been with the district for 5 years, and I'm excited about the transformation that we are embarking upon right now. We're creating sustainable change for the children that we serve. So, glad to be here.
Likewise, I'm glad to be here. Anita Harvey. I'm also with the district, and I have been for 7 years, 20 years in education, and my title is Director of Transformation. And so what that entails is I have the privilege of overseeing the $51 million grant that was given to us by WKKF Foundation. And so that entails looking at the budget, program costs, strategic initiatives, and helping to facilitate those endeavors for our kids to improve outcomes for students.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Chandra Youngblood. I am the Director of Elementary Education. This is my 14th school year in the district, most known as the former principal of Angie Kellogg. That's my claim to fame. And my work as Director of Elementary Education is all things pre-K through 5th grade. So everything, curriculum, families, children, teachers, principals.
Well, this is the most knowledgeable talk show here in the city. And so we're going to learn a lot of things today. There's a couple things I want to bring out, and that is, it's just like when President Barack Obama came into office, there were things that took place prior to him. And it takes time to change things. And what we want to discuss today is there's just some things that the superintendent is not in charge of, and share some of those things. We were talking earlier about even the scheduling, about coming to school on Wednesday. Just kind of share with your audience some things it's not you, and educate us on who else make those kind of decisions versus Ms. Carter.
So I think that's a very good question, because we were asked a lot about why we began school on Wednesday as opposed to some of the other schools in other counties coming back just this Monday. But Battle Creek is part of Calhoun County, and Calhoun County makes a decision about the schedules, and we create a shared common calendar is what it's called. It's normally created 5 years in advance so that schools are able to plan. But that county calendar dictates when we return to school from winter break and spring break. Those are the dates that are always set well in advance. And a lot of that has to do with the shared programming. We have the Calhoun Career Center that we all share. We also have the Battle Creek Area Math and Science Center. And so we have to make some common decisions around schooling so that we can all be a part of those programs. So.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to share that you don't have total control over, and you're maybe getting the blame that was your call? Is there other things that is over your head?
Not that I can think of, but anything come to mind for you all? I mean,
I think some things that the state decides,
Yep.
and then we have to implement, then it becomes,
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of things right now around suspension and seclusion. The hot topic in the news is the teachers getting a percentage of their payback from a previous lawsuit, but all that those are state laws and policies that we just have to follow, just like any other district.
Well, I'm very biased today, so I'm very pro Battle Creek, and I'm also pro these individuals just representing our district. However, we're going to discuss some things that a lot of us are concerned. One of the big challenges when I first came back in town, I came from an era where we had 4 junior high schools: WK, Northwestern, Southeastern, and Southwestern. And then somehow it's been changed, and to my knowledge we have middle schools. We have Northwestern, and then what's the other school?
Springfield, I think it is.
Springfield. So there's some challenges with Northwestern, and we're not here to point fingers. How can we, as parents, as community leaders, help you and your team to deal with a situation like that? Because the truth is, that's a school that we wouldn't want to lose, because that's kind of one of the only schools left from an African American perspective, even though she represents everyone. That's important everybody understand that. Again, I was pro Barack Obama, but Barack Obama had to represent everybody. It didn't mean that he had to represent America, and so Ms. Carter here has to represent the school district. I don't have to, so I can ask questions that relates to what I'm concerned about. So, with that being said, Northwestern like the only last school that was quote considered a black school, and is struggling. And what can we do to save that school? And there's a lot of our children and grandchildren.
Well, I think first of all, just to say that Northwestern shouldn't just be considered the black school, because our entire district is diverse, and all of our schools are pretty much about the same. We have gone from what used to be about a 30-30-30 split, meaning we had 30% African American, 30% Caucasian, 30% Latino and or Burmese, and now we've shifted and we are more minority than we have been in the past. I say all of that to say yes to your question. What's going on with Northwestern Middle School? Northwestern is still a neighborhood school. It serves a large population of students who might be at risk or what we term as vulnerable, and so those children need extra resources and supports, which we are able to actually provide as a result of the investment from the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. When you ask me what can be done from the community. The key to schools and community working together is communication. And so if you ask me what's the most important thing, that is to communicate, because oftentimes things are happening that people don't know about, and they haven't taken the opportunity to ask the question and get more information. We have a pull team. It stands for Parents Ultimately Limiting Loss, and those parents are meeting on a regular basis to get input, to ask questions, to talk to us about what's happening and where do they see themselves fitting in, because schools don't always have the answers themselves. We need parents and community members to come in and help us. So it's about communicating, it's about being present, because we always ask for volunteers to just come in and talk with students and to volunteer and to be a part of that culture and climate to help us shift, but also hold us accountable. Make sure that we are walking the walk that we are putting out there, by asking those questions and being present and communicating.
Melvin McKnight Butter, I've been attending that meeting, never knew what it stood for, but today, Ms. Carter just told us. Say it one more time. Stand for what again?
Parents Ultimately Limiting Loss.
Butter, shout out to you, man.
Yes.
Into that committee. Good job. Good job.
Yes.
Shifted. Let's talk about you three to chill day. Done, stressed out. What you do just to relax? What is your, don't say read a book. What is your peace time that you three do? I want to hear all three of y'all. What is it that you do for real? Don't say read a book.
Okay. Read a book, but no, just kidding.
That is what she does.
I'm not joking. However, in addition to that, you will be surprised to know that I have a very favorite show that I DVR every day, and I will not miss it, no matter what happens.
The superintendent, don't tell us no. Go ahead, what is it?
Young and the Restless.
Miss Chancellor still around?
And she has a part. I am with Victor, and I am watching that every day. It is my release at the end of the day. It could be 11 o'clock at night. I will not go to bed until I know what happened with Victor and Nikki.
I feel you.
I honestly thought I thought she was going to say something else. You know, all the other shows that everybody else is watching, they record them and then watch them later. I honestly thought you were going to say something like Empire or Power, or you went old school. So yeah.
Okay, so what about you?
So I have a 7-year-old son who also is a Battle Creek Public School student.
Awesome.
And what we like to do is play a mean game of Uno. And so my son, I mean, you think that being 7-year-old, I would trump him and just, because I have no mercy. Like, I want to treat him like an adult. But he has learned how to strategize and give it to mom. So we go back and forth and we're battling. So we have a championship belt in our house from WWE, and we play for the belt for the Uno championship.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
See, I like that. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I am a newly empty nester.
Okay.
And I've been working on my degree seems like forever. So both happened at the same time. Like, I'm done, I graduated, and I don't have any kids at home.
Congratulations.
So I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing, but I craft, scrapbook, and I make crafts, and just for the fun of it. I don't sell anything, just give it away or put it in my basement.
Doug, you haven't had a chance to say anything. You got anything you want to say before we continue?
I'm enjoying the show. Just waiting to hear. That was an excellent question that you asked about the superintendent. What your responsibilities are. People have a perception of what your responsibilities are, and they already know your job before they know your job. So I think it was really nice to hear how you describe what you're responsible for, and I believe that there's some things that the state has jurisdiction over that you have no control over, and people just don't know that because they're not educated to know that. They just don't know.
Thank you. I mentioned this in service today, and I'm going to share it with these powerful women. I'm tired of the fact that the thug culture, again, we're going elsewhere, okay? And you can stay in your own lane. And just, I'm asking questions. Has turned many kids into anti-intellectuals. Now, I'm not asking you all to agree with that, but just it seemed like to me, they run away from education. The thing, education is, is not cool, or they think education is stupid, or they think education is dumb, and they run away from it. But it can lead to incarceration. You know, it's destructive. How do we get these children back wanting to read a book? And I know you all are in the administrative area, but but I am going to hit one question that I did ask the superintendent in Lakeview, but I want to hear this response first. Oh yeah, I'm going to ask the same question. But this one, I want to really know, how do I get my grandson, I don't have one yet, to want to read a book? I think I got an answer. They have no choice in my home. But how do we do that? Because now I'm watching the school raising our children. There's parents aren't always involved with our kids anymore. How would you address something like that?
So we really look at alternative ways of student engagement.
Okay.
We know we cannot teach kids the way we learn because we are competing with the bells and whistles of this world.
Everything. Okay,
So
good.
when we try to do active engagement, project-based things that get kids involved and not so much the teacher being the only one imparting knowledge. So trying to get students to share with each other, to talk to each other, and to use the technology. Because I used to stress my kiddo didn't like to read books, but he was a good student.
Okay.
And so one day, he's a gamer. I sat down and I looked at all the reading that there is on some of those video games. So I had to let it go and talk with him about the importance of books, but to encourage him to read with whatever. So just trying to, you have to think outside the box, because a lot of times we want to say it was good enough for us, but the world's not the same as it was for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think I would just add in there, and I come from a parent perspective also, right? And so one of the rules that I have in our household is that there are no video games Monday through Thursday. You can play on Friday, Saturday, and a little bit on Sunday, but during the week your focus needs to be on reading. So I think as parents, we have to establish those boundaries around not allowing electronics or other things to get in the way of what we know to be the most important thing, which is to engage with a book. So that's one of the things. And I've always remembered Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu is an author who writes a book called To Be Popular or
Chicago,
Smart.
good man.
Yes.
I know him. Great man.
And one of the things that really struck me is he said, I know your values by just walking in your front door, right? And he said, what will I see when I walk in your house? Will I see a Bible somewhere on the table? And will I see books? And that will tell me what you really value. And so from that time on, I've been sharing that message with others about what is it that you see when you walk in your house. Is the first thing you see the television or some sort of electronic, or will you see books around your home? Because that really talks about what's first.
And to all my conscious audience, she mentions someone that tells us she's very conscious. She's aware. Okay, this is one of the greatest authors that we know. So she understands that concept, and that's just, again, kudos to our superintendent. What were you going to say?
I was going to say creating those conditions that foster that learning. People want to be celebrated and people want to be acknowledged. That's just inherent.
Okay.
And so one of the things that I do with my son, and I'm putting on my parent hat, is we recognize how many books have you read. We celebrate that. Can you tell me the story map behind that, comprehension? Can you then take it a step further and change the ending so that it has an alternative ending? We make it fun. And so one of the things that I would implore anyone is kids want to be celebrated.
Okay.
So what are we paying attention to?
Okay.
Are we paying attention to academics? Are we celebrating academics? Or are we paying attention to other things? And so they will go and they will innately drive to and connect to the things that you are uplifting and celebrating.
And so I want to add, your parents that are viewers, we are about to roll out an initiative for a challenge for reading books all the way up through 12th grade.
Awesome.
So we're going to challenge kids to read so many books or so many pages throughout the district. So we recognize that kids need to have eyes on books more.
So
I have a
challenge,
question.
that's good.
I have a question. People nowadays, they bring their phones or their tablets to church now, and they research the Bible electronically.
While I'm
Technology.
preaching.
While you're preaching.
Verifying notes.
So, and because of the time that we live in now, do you think it would help? I mean, I think you guys do a great job, stressing reading books, with your kids, and that's very, very, very important. Do you think that coming to their field, or meet them on their ground, and maybe try to get them to read through that technology. You think that would be helpful for some parents, or some kids or some students? If you're so caught up in this technological world, is that something that may help somewhere down the road in the future? I know they probably use that in school, but do you think it will work in the home?
I think it's a both and, right? Not either or. And so, yes, you can use technology to read, especially because there are lots of apps and there are electronic books. But we also want you to just get engaged with some physical text, right? So to, I guess, have a little bit of both in the home. The other thing that I wanted to say about that is, to utilize that to a benefit, because some kids are motivated by using the technology, Kindles, iPads, to read. And what we know without a shadow of a doubt is the difference between a child who's achieving and not is the number of books read, the number of words read. They have boiled that down to the exact percentile that kids are able to achieve in just by the number of words they are reading. So what we're asking the community to do is to, for every child you see, ask them, what are you reading?
Awesome.
Just that simple question.
Awesome.
What are you
What
reading?
are you reading? That's good.
it.
That's good. So the question I asked the superintendent in Lakeview, matter of fact, he told me that you all once a month have lunch at Pizza. Is that true?
Yes, we do.
Okay, nice. Nice, very good, very good. So I'm not sure about all the schools. I haven't been through all the schools yet. But again, I'm coming. We have to learn to agree to disagree and still be professionals, because that's the only way we're going to learn. So we're not going to always be on the same page.
That's true.
But so when I see a young African American male, little boy, 10, 12, 15, 5, and I see a Caucasian teacher, female, and then before you know, I find out that the young man has now been diagnosed. He have a behavior problem. Isn't there some type of connection? And now you have to be very careful as superintendent, all three of you all. But isn't there a certain connection where young black boys learn differently, and if you try to make him sit too long, that may not be his pattern, and then before you know, he gets labeled. What are we doing now? You from ANJ, so you got to already know that.
I'm going to say that's boys. That's not just African American boys.
Right,
That
but
is
I'm just
boys
referring
in
to
particular.
boys. I'm referring to the black boys right now.
Well, I don't have to be careful, because I can absolutely tell you that there is a difference,
Okay.
right? And that we have to be culturally responsive.
Okay.
That's what we call that. And so there are two types of being culturally responsive. Culturally responsive based on race and ethnicity.
Okay.
Because we know that an African American child's culture is different than a Caucasian teacher's culture and what they understand and know about the way in which they learn.
Okay.
And so we have to be very intentional about bridging that cultural gap, right, through education and training.
Okay.
But we also know, and again, from some of my authors out there, that even as an African American middle class teacher, I don't always understand poverty. Right?
Gotcha.
And so that's another cultural divide that we have to truly understand and get to know the way in which children learn.
Okay, okay, that's good. Back to ANJ. So when you was at ANJ, and I did not know what you said about the demographics. I really, and I like to be educated, so I stand to be corrected. I really thought Northwestern was majority African Americans, so I was wrong about that.
It is.
So what school is predominantly African American? We don't have one. Are you saying we don't have one anymore? Because if that's the case, we putting so much attention on Northwestern, and that's the information I've been getting on the pipeline. That's the only reason why I thought that. I thought ANJ was the biggest in elementary. I thought they were the biggest African American, and I thought Northwestern was middle school. That's the impression I've always had.
I think that, and to be honest, there was a time where you could have said that.
Okay.
Not so much Northwestern, because even as principal at ANJ, I was pleasantly surprised. I won't say pleasantly. I was surprised going over to see the demographics at Northwestern, because you have to remember, a middle school feeds from various elementary, so they tend to be more diverse than the neighborhood schools. But I think that since we have reorganized the district, we're seeing more diversity because the way we have, the way the district is divided for the schools. So to say I don't know. They're all just really diverse right now,
Okay.
which is nice to see.
Yeah. Okay.
It's nice to see.
So when you celebrate, Dr. Carter, Superintendent Carter, when you celebrate some of your success, and this doesn't, I'm going to blow your trumpet, but sometimes we don't know what you've done. In your tenure since you've been here, what are some of the things that you did do that I think we should know about? Because sometimes we read the media and all we get is the way we see things. But I have a list of things that Barack Obama has done, and it's proven by all the things that Trump is trying to undo. So I know what he's done. But sometimes we don't know all that you've done because we don't always read. We just go by, you should have had school on Monday. You know what I'm saying? Let's celebrate. Let's kind of, when did you come in? Because remember, I was gone. I just got back. When did you come in, and what are some of the things that you did and your staff did? Let's celebrate that.
So I really want to, start where you left off, which is this is not about Kim Carter.
Right.
This is about the central office staff of Battle Creek Public Schools.
Absolutely.
And how the individuals that are supporting me and my work have allowed us to be extremely successful in the last 3 years. So it's been about 3 years.
3 years, okay.
I think the number one thing that we've done is right-size the district. And why is that important? Because in more than 10 years, and we've gone back all the way to 2011, we've tried to dig as far back, the district has been in deficit. And so this is the first time in more than 10 years that we've actually had a balanced budget.
Awesome. Good
and
stuff.
we were able to do that by making some very difficult decisions, which were closing some of the schools, but doing that in a way that allowed us to right size and use the space so that we could begin to invest in our children rather than constantly being in the red. That's one of the things. We also, when I came into the district, there was really no curriculum. And so within the last 3 years, we've adopted a new English language arts curriculum. We have all new reading series in the schools. This year, we then doubled down on that, and we have a new math curriculum just within the last 2 years. So that's part of some of the successes. I love the fact that I'm sitting here with the Director of Elementary Education because she's done a lot of work with our preschool programs, and we now have a summer preschool program, 5 weeks all day for 4-year-olds to come in prior to kindergarten and get some skills. And the success of that, we saw double-digit increases in their achievement for those students who were involved in that program. So that's a little bit about what some of the successes have been.
I want to add something that's important that when you talk about what people don't always understand.
Absolutely.
So Mrs. Carter was instrumental as soon as she got in the seat, actually before when she was assistant superintendent, in starting us on writing the strategic plan for the district. And what people don't understand is that strategic plan was our pie in the sky, like if money was no object, what do we want to happen for kids in this district? And we wrote that plan, and then the foundation funded some of it, not all of it, because remember, this was our pie in the sky. Right. So a lot of times people tend to think, well, you have this money, you should be able to do blah, blah, blah. But the plan was already written. Yeah. The funds fund the plan. We're not trying to guess what we're going to do with $51 million. Absolutely. So people miss that piece, that there was a strategic plan that took us a long time to write. Awesome. So I think that's one of the things. So there's a roadmap already.
Awesome.
So when you say in the red, what does exactly in the red mean?
We were deficit spending, and so about 5 years ago, or maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we had a fund balance, which is kind of like we don't like to call it a savings account, but it's more so that's the way people really understand it. It's having money in the bank so that you can cover payroll. Well, we have spent through that as a district in the last 10 years, going from approximately $20 million down to less than $4 million. and that is not enough to cover the
That's
day-to-day
huge.
operations that we were having. And so we were in danger of becoming state takeover for our budget problems. And I just asked that they give us a chance to right size on our own, and we were able to actually create change and make the adjustments that we needed to make so that we can now have a balanced budget. And what that means for our children is that we can now begin to invest back in the staff and into programs so that kids have a better education from the system of Battle Creek.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the grind of the community. There are certain questions that comes up. And so we're all administrators in our own field. And so sometimes we don't always get to conversate with that person that's right there. So you got a young lady that, trying to get her son back in school. Let's say the mom may, been in the system. And I mean, let's just say it's a really bad thing, but this grandmother want her son in school, and they can't get to you all because, you may be here. How do that, I don't want to say little person, but how do that person get that kind of help? All I want is my son in school. I just want my son in school, and he's not in school, and how do we do that? How do we do that? That's a question that I hear quite often.
Is this because, well, for whatever reason, you can always call central office. So
And
you call
you're the central office?
965-9500.
Y'all get this number. Going to blow up. 965.
9500.
9500.
That is.
Okay.
And sometimes you'll get that annoying, what department would you like? But student services is
Student
the
services.
department
Okay.
that you want to call when there's any issue with trying to enroll, get back in school, or just understand registration processes.
Okay.
And they will route you to the right person. My other recommendation is you always start with the school office. And if you can't get your answer there, then call that 965-9500, and someone will make sure that you have access to getting your answers.
Good.
So,
Thank you for that.
and we actually track all of the calls that come in and route them to the right person. So even if you call the superintendent's office and it is a concern about Verona Elementary, then Dr. Youngblood will get that call, and she makes sure that she follows up on a regular basis.
Educate me. Name all of your schools, because I don't even know them. Because you just said another one, got me off track. Name your schools. Name the elementary first.
Our pre-K through second grade buildings are Dudley Elementary,
Okay.
Post Franklin Elementary,
Okay.
Lamora Park.
Okay.
And then we have a pre-K through fifth grade building, which is Valley View. A lot of
Okay.
people still think that's Springfield, but
Okay.
it's part of Battle Creek Public
Okay.
Schools.
Okay.
And then our third through fifth grade buildings are Verona Elementary and A&J Kellogg.
Okay. And where's
So we have
Verona at,
6
DJ?
elementaries.
Verona is on Capitol.
It's on Capitol.
By the pizza place back in the day?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. So it's 2, and then you go to middle school, then you go to high school, right?
Middle school.
Middle school. What's the middle school?
Northwestern and Springfield.
Okay. And then Central.
And then Battle Creek Central, and then WK Kellogg Preparatory High School.
I see. So enrollment may be low, may not be low. Is it something that you're trying to push to increase enrollment? And how can we help that? How can we help increase enrollment?
One of the things that we learned, and we did a survey just this past summer to find out why our families making a different choice. Because although we have approximately 4,300 students within Battle Creek Public Schools, we also know that we have over 2,000 students that choice out, and so they have become a focus of mine.
You said
What
there's
is it?
2,000 that's in the district and they went elsewhere?
Resident students that
2,000?
have at least.
We only got 5,000? Okay, never mind. Keep going. Let me stay focused.
At least, yes.
Wow.
So I wanted to truly understand why
Okay.
those families were making a different decision. And what we learned is it has a lot to do with the perception of Battle Creek Public Schools and not having their needs met. And so we're doing a very, a concentrated effort to make sure that we're communicating more with our families, and then we're also offering more programming, because what we know is that our surrounding districts don't offer anything that Battle Creek Public Schools does not offer. But there was a perception around the school climate and the behaviors in Battle Creek that we needed to address so that our families feel safe. And we've begun to do that. We have interventionists in every single building, and those are school social workers in every school for all of our children. We now have family engagement coordinators in every single one of our buildings to make sure that they're developing relationships with our families. And we've put in place a lot of other things to make sure that our families feel good about Battle Creek.
So Superintendent Carter talked about sustainable change. So we're working towards that constantly. Some things you'll see immediate, and some things we know will take time, but we need the community to believe in the change.
Now again, Jesus, when he first came on the scene, his job was to the Jews only. So there's times when I'm here, I'm only on one group of people. So there are times when we go there again. Would you know this? Are there social workers at Penfield or at Lakeview or at the other school? Do you know?
I don't know the answer to that question. I do know that they don't have the level that we have. So.
Okay. Because see, and I'm now talking to my community, y'all. Again, and I understand they're representing everybody, but I'm representing. If we're cutting up, y'all, we got to stop it. Okay? I mean, it's nice we got social workers, and it's nice we got lie detectors, and it's nice we got gun whatever, but come on, y'all, we gotta do better for ourselves, because it's our community, and that has nothing to do with Dr. Carter or staff. That's us. If we're in there fighting, you know, the teachers should be protected, but we got to figure out why we're fighting, why we're cutting up, and that's something we have to do ourselves. That's not their responsibility, and I want y'all to hear that clearly, that they're doing everything they can to bring in your confidence, but you got to help us out by bringing children in that's going to come to learn and maybe not fight or whatever. So I just want to share that with you all. I'm grateful that you're, I don't want to say young blood, I'm sorry, Dr. Harvey. And I'm so glad you had Dr. Harvey, because listen, because your kids are already grown. This is a question that they always ask, and I got to ask it. You know, you gotta support your own. And how do you deal, Dr. Carter, when you have leaders in your own department that got children out of the district? That's a huge question, and that's no attack on anybody, but it just tells me I have a church, and you know my brother go to another church. I mean, somebody gonna say, well, "What's wrong?" And we got to deal with that. That's a reality. People is gonna ask that question. No way around it. So I know you're not a dictator, and you can't tell nobody what to do, but I'm so happy to see. And I'm so glad you made that clear, and my child is in the school. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. But how, could you understand that does give a mixed message?
Well, I think people make assumptions.
Okay.
And one of the things is that not all of the staff live in the district, so they're not going to take their child to a district that they don't live in. So I think one of the things is just understanding that everything is not as though it seems. And so we need people to ask questions like you're doing today to develop that understanding before jumping to conclusions, right, and making those judgments. But we have a lot of staff members that don't live in Battle Creek, and so their children go to the district in which they live. Now, some people say, well, why don't they live in Battle Creek? Well, that's one of the things that we'll continue to work on as the city continues its economic development issues and types of things that they're doing. Right now, we're partnering with the city of Battle Creek to offer incentives to our teachers that will give them down payment assistance, and also, what's the other part of that? and renovations so that we can bring them in. So we're working on that, but it's also part of this larger plan over the next 5 years. So if someone were to ask me, what do I need from the community? I need also their patience as we work through this, because change doesn't happen overnight. But hold us accountable for seeing results regularly. Right.
That's awesome. My mentor before I left town was Reverend Clifton Bullock. You probably wouldn't know him.
Heard of him.
And one thing I just loved about him was he lived in the community. And I'm actually planning on getting me a house somewhere in that area. It says a lot. It says a whole lot about what you believe in. And we may have to go through some of those struggles, but living in the community does help. And so I appreciate that. You asked, what can, and if we ask you, communicate. I am more into the financial piece, and I am grateful for education. I've been blessed to be able to, achieve certain levels, but I'm really into the financial 21st century, trying to teach financial management. Face it, that's not something that's taught. I mean, not just your school. No one really. That's not something we learn. How could an outside community like our group partner with your group, or partner with whoever you put us in charge of to kind of put that piece in the system, management, financial management, and everybody just can't go buy Jordans today. Why don't you put a little money on the side? How can we bring that into our school system and empower the district?
So one of my former roles in Battle Creek Public Schools was a 9th grade academy principal. And I served for 5 years there, or 6 years there. And we partner with Junior Achievement, who
beautiful.
Also has
Yes.
a very nice curriculum on financial management. And we went through the course over the course of a month, but then had check-in meetings throughout the school year. So there are community agencies already out there doing the work. It's just about being involved in what's happening on that subset, and then partnering with them to then partner with Battle Creek Public Schools.
So we still have a Junior Achievement here?
Yes.
I didn't know that neither. We have to get them on the show. I didn't know that. Last time we had Junior Achievement, we was on Capitol. And we was building plaques with wood.
That was a long time ago.
Long time ago. So I'm just excited about hearing them today. I'm not sure if anybody gave us a shout out or wanted to ask Ms. Carter or anybody a question, but first of all, I respect you three. I will always say you all do not get paid what you're worth, and not just you three, but teachers, period. We have a backwards thinking. We are to raise our children, train our children, and you all are the one that's with us for 6 to 8 hours, and sometimes they just don't get the kind of money. And again, that's not something you're in charge of. That's something the government has to fix. And I'm in the process of talking to Dr. Bison and some other people about figuring out how can we, because to be honest about it, to get more teachers, they want to know, can they get more money? And that's a reality. I can go to the factory and sometimes make more than a teacher. And sometimes we need to try to fix that. And we want to, we did it in Indiana, Doctor, and I want to know, is it possible to do it with you all? How can we take a school or a classroom and help, provide supplies? You know how we used to adopt classrooms back in Indiana. Is that something that's going on right now? And if not, is that something we could be interested in doing, helping some of the school districts?
Different organizations are doing different things.
Okay.
And for things like that, we say to contact the principal or the parent and community facilitator at that building.
Okay.
That's the easiest way.
Okay. Because Dudley's my old school, Dudley Do Right. So I am very biased to Dudley. So I've met the principal and I love the school. I have a lot of history there, so that's one that our church want to sponsor that school or sponsor a classroom and just try to. And I want to encourage other churches to do that. I think churches need to really get involved with our districts because those children are in our congregation.
And speaking of Dudley, one of the things the principal has shared with me, and I can't remember which church, but there's one of the churches in her community has the men of the church come in and just have lunch with the kiddos, and they only come maybe once a week, and she said, I wish I had somebody for every day. You know, it just makes such a difference. So there's another opportunity. It doesn't always have to be buying something, but just coming in and spend time with students, especially as you mentioned earlier, the African American boys. They need that.
I share that children deserve a shot at excellence. I believe in that. I believe you all are doing that. Excellence is really important because in some cases we're losing. Our children are not able to go to that next level, and we want to fix that. And so therefore, with that being said, Doug, you have your grandchild right now, but your daughter's already graduated and they're doing social work, correct? What are some things you would like to see the school bring to your young grandson that we could, I'm for sure other people feel the same way when you speak, but some things you could share with this administration of what you're looking forward to?
Well, I would like to see, Nasir is a very intelligent kid, and his mom, my daughter, lays down rules for him also. During the week, there's no video games, but then on the weekend, okay, she gives him time. Gives him a time frame and a time limit. And I think he has pretty good structure, and I think you're headed in the right direction. No matter what happens, and I can say this about me and my granddaughter, and because we are led by God, that he's going to be fine. He's going to be all right. He has a very strong support behind him. But I would like to see, not every kid has that.
Right.
But one thing I would like to say is, keep doing what you're doing and keep trying. But it is a community that has to come together and help you. You can't do it on your own.
Right.
And you can't do it by yourself. So it's not just a school board problem. The problem actually manifested before it got to the school. So, we have to do what we got to do here. And then, you know what? It'll get easier. Makes your job a lot easier. Really does.
Well, I went to Central not too long ago, and I was quite impressed. I saw order. I saw. I didn't see the stereotypes.
Right.
And that's what we need to start talking more about. We again, we love everybody, but they shoot at Lakeview, they shoot at Harbor Creek. Bombs happen everywhere. And I just think it just cannot be singled out. That's a world problem. And we need to fix that world problem. But we cannot just label it and say, well, there go Battle Creek Central again. Okay, there are times when we do see things happen, but it happens everywhere. And I still think it's not a school fault. It's, as you said, Doug, it's something that we got to fix at home. So Kim, if you had that magic wand, and then you have that magic wand, and you have that magic wand or that crystal ball, there's something special in this you should try. What would you go last? What would be? Because obviously you care about the school, you care about children. What would be that thing you want if you could just do it?
I would want every child in Battle Creek Public Schools to have a pre-K experience. I wish we could get all of our students in preschool. It doesn't have to be our preschool, but we get those kindergartners, from everywhere. So they just get a leg up when they have that year before kindergarten.
That's that 4-year-old?
Yes.
Okay.
So
At
I'm
least.
asking every minister to ask their congregation, are those babies in preschool? Right? Because you will know before we will. You see them on a regular basis. So we need the community. That's where we need your help. Because if those children have a preschool experience, they have a long-lasting impact.
So I only get one thing.
No, you can keep going.
Okay, great. So the first thing I would want for every child to have an advocate or a champion behind them that will push and support them to greatness and excellence. Some of our kids don't have that, as you were talking, Mr. Banks, about your grandson has this village around him and he's going to be okay. And some of our kids don't. So if they were to have that, it would just be and propel them to academic excellence so much quicker. The other thing is I would love for our facilities to be upgraded to 21st world class structures so that kids would come to school and feel as though that they are walking into environments that are like none other. You will start to see a transformation within the student if they were to come into an environment that they felt reflected the expectations that we already have innately. I would ask for additional resources to fully fund our strategic plan. We have a wonderful plan of what we know works for kids, but we don't have the fully funding for all things. There's 6 goals to greatness, and we have well on our way to funding most, but not all 6. So there are some things that are lacking, but I would definitely ask for additional resources for that. And then just finally, for the community to just believe in the fact that we have the right people on the bus. We have the right leaders. We have a vision. Work with us and stay with us, but then do it with your voice and action.
Yes, yes. And I think we should do a little more marketing because I didn't know all y'all faces. I knew Dr. Carter's face. No, I'm serious. I think people should know who you all are. I mean, I guess I have to go on your little website, but your website could be boring to me.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
So we should see y'all. We should know who y'all are. That's not boasting. That gives my little granddaughter some encouragement. You know, wow. You know, because I had no clue that, and I'm for sure there's a lot more greatness on your team that I don't aware of. You know, I watched your school board. Where is that meeting held at? Where is y'all at?
Downtown at the administration building, 3rd floor. So our school board meetings are on the 2nd and 4th Monday of the month. Okay. We start at 5:30. We're on the 3rd floor of the Willard Library building. Okay. I do hope that people will come out, hear what's happening. Okay. The second Monday of every month is a work session, and then our regular board meeting is on the 4th Monday. Okay.
Well, we're going to commit to making a covenant. Well, we're going to go and talk to the principal at Franklin, right? Franklin, right by Dairy Queen.
Yes, post Franklin.
Post Franklin. So that post school is no longer operable. The actual post school.
It's not. It doesn't belong to us. It's a church now.
Is that right? It is. Oh, okay. I just learned everything today. All right. Okay.
Welcome home.
Wow. But we're going to try to partner, and then I'm going to try to encourage some of the other pastors who closer, like my cousin, Pastor Sweet. He can help partner Dudley. You know, everybody's close. We can all hit our own little area. Sure. And even Second Baptist could help partner because that's in the same area. And Jay would be near Pastor Troxler, correct?
Yes.
Second Mount Zion.
Macedonia.
And Macedonia.
Right.
See, and so those are things that I am trying to get because it's working together. It's not about who's in charge. It's just helping. Because again, I'm gonna say, if I feel we're losing, we gotta do better. You know, and what I measure losing may be different from what you measure losing. But we all have our own measure. Delia, anything you want to say before we get ready to get to our closing?
Communication is the key, and working together. It is.
I always end, but before I end, I want to just say, is there any last words of wisdom, advice? I know you all mentioned if you had that crystal ball, but you know, this is your show. What would you like the audience to just got today? Or what would you, other than the communication or call us, anything y'all want to say one more time before we leave? Anything. This is you. Say it.
Great things are happening in Battle Creek Public Schools, and I encourage you to believe in the change, to communicate with us, and know all of the things that are happening. Show up, because we're there. You can contact us on Facebook at battlecreekpublicschools.org on our website, and I encourage you to just show up at one of our board meetings. We're here to help.
And that's every
2nd and 4th Monday.
2nd and 4th Monday. That's just standard. And we all want to show up. How does a person? I think I saw. I heard the name Melvin McKnight, good friend of mine. But how do a person get on your board, or how is that? Is a rotation shift? How does that happen? Your board, how that works?
The Board of Education is an elected position, and so if you go on our website,
Oh, it's
you can
elected
see.
position, okay.
Those are city elections.
Oh,
and so,
is that right? Okay.
All 7 board members, and they have different tenures.
Tenures,
So
okay.
the board, our website will tell you what the tenure is and when the next time seats will come up for vote. We have 7 committed individuals right now who are working tirelessly alongside us to ensure that we're able to meet our goals.
Who are your board members? Let's give a shout out to them. I think I know maybe 1 or 2, but let's give them, call them off. I don't want to put you in the spot.
Right.
You can do it.
I can go around more, right? Yeah. So Trustee Jacqueline Slaby.
Okay.
We have Trustee Eric Jankowski.
Okay.
Trustee Kyra Wallace.
I know her.
Our treasurer is Nathan Graycheck.
Okay. Okay.
Our secretary is Catherine LaValle.
Okay.
Our vice president is Karen Evans.
Okay.
And president is Art McClenny.
I know him.
Yep.
Okay. And these
So-
are elected officials. Huh?
They are
Okay.
elected, normally in their 6-year terms now. So
that right?
the state passed a law which is not in the benefit of schools, and they now have it at 6-year terms, which is a very long time. So across the state of Michigan, there are lots of seats that are up because people don't want to serve for 6 years. But we need you. We need you at the table. We need you to be a part of this process.
So you just can't vacate the seat after 3 years.
You
can.
can, but you were
It's not
really
recommended.
asking, it's not recommended.
Right.
We ask that you commit for 6 years.
Because then we have to do a special opening, and people have to
So
submit.
I also want to make sure that I mention that if you go on our Facebook, you will see that we have a district parent advisory council, and I invite parents to come and talk with me. I make myself available every month as a part of this, and
Awesome.
anybody can participate. So we make sure that we publish those on our Facebook page, and if there are questions, concerns, or you just want to know what's happening, please join me for that
And
conversation.
I also want to give a shout out. I forgot. The Follies was awesome. That's Battle Creek Public School, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let me make sure that-
81st.
Okay, they were awesome. Is Mr. Elliott still a part of that?
Yes.
Mr. Elliott, shout out to you and to all the children and the young adults. The talent that you had was amazing. One of my mom, one of her foster daughters, she actually her daughter now adopted her. She was a part of it in the band and the cymbals, and we have members of the church that was dancing and singing, and boy, that's a whole lot of talent, and that was nothing but
Yes.
positivity.
Yes.
Yes.
And I hope that's going to be all over the shoppers.
We hope so. 81 years that's been going on.
81
Long time.
years. So again, I want to shout out to all of the young children, young adults. You guys did a wonderful job, and we applaud you for your success at all. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm excited. I'm getting ready to end this thing, and we just so happy for my guests. My guests have just been amazing. I always end by giving my remarks and acknowledgement to my ancestors. And my ancestors, I stopped at my late father, Hugh Daniel Smith Sr., and his father was Edward West Smith. That's where I got my name from. I celebrate them. Then my mom's side, she's still living, Mother Georgia Howard, love her to death. And her parents was Elizabeth, Ruby, and we called him Pato, but Leo Del Perry Sr. And I always encourage people, connect with your family, connect with your group. That's how you know who you are. And we have to understand that in this world, we have to have a map and we have to have a globe so we know where we're going. We have spent an hour listening to 3 dynamic, gifted, anointed, qualified women of God, women of culture, women of society that have done wonderful things. And I celebrate y'all. And I want to thank y'all for coming on the show. We always end with a word of prayer, if that's okay with you all.
Yes.
And we just want to say thank you again for coming. Father, we thank you for this wonderful time. And we thank you for the city of Battle Creek and the public school and their leadership. We thank you for all those that's in charge. God, encourage the instructors, encourage the teachers. I know it's not always easy, but I pray for all of them right now. I pray for every single teacher and administration. God bless us, and we thank you for what you've done for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, y'all. Thank you very much.
Wake up all the doctors, make the old people well. They're the ones who suffer and who catch all the hell. They don't have so very long before that judgment day. Won't you make them happy before they pass away? Wake up all the builders, time to build